Good morning, Bianca.
Hey, lovely to see you, David.
You too. Thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed today for the channel. It's wonderful to have you.
Yeah, wonderful to be here.
To introduce you, Bianca Spruit is a leadership coach for tech professionals. After a 20-year career in the tech industry, creating, managing, and growing teams, Bianca founded Sprout Coaching, through which she prepares tech staff to be leaders and grows high performing, happy, and inclusive teams. Bianca reached out to me on LinkedIn, having seen that we both live locally and studied with Animas. I'm really looking forward to today's conversation and to finding out more about Bianca's journey into coaching and the challenges that she supports her clients with as a fellow former IT professional. So, Bianca, I'd love to start by asking you, can you tell us more about the work that you do now as a transformative leadership coach?
Yeah, sure. As you very well described, I support tech leaders to build teams and to build teams that can reach the goals that the team and the organization needs to hit, but also in a way that's happy and supportive, and people feel like they can bring their whole, true, authentic selves to work. So sometimes that will be a leader who engages with me personally and asks for some coaching because they recognize that maybe there's some next level that they want to get to, or there's something holding them back, something that they want to work on, and so that they can get to where they want to be. And sometimes it's the business that approaches me because they recognize perhaps they haven't supported teams in the way that they or leaders in the way that they now realize that they should. Often it happens where people in teams are not very happy, or leaders are asking to go back to their previous role, and um, way too often it's because somebody who's technically brilliant has been promoted into management because they're technically brilliant. So the business thinks, wow, that they're great, let's have more of that. So they think that by putting them in charge of the rest of the team, that's how to do it, but they don't realize that actually it's a totally different set of skills, and the managers need some support to make that happen. Yeah, so that's what I do, really, working with leaders and working with teams and team building, and building um, preferably a coaching culture, because I know and how effective that can be.
Thanks, Bianca. So before we get more into the nitty gritty of IT leadership, I sort of just to open it up a bit. How what led you into coaching from a very successful career, having held multiple roles in IT leadership for different organisations? What led you into coaching and then founding Sprout Coaching, your business?
Yeah. Well, it's I was working for a company where um, the culture wasn't a good fit for me. And I got to a point where I was feeling really miserable and my mental health was suffering. Yeah, I was really struggling, and I stayed in that position for way too long. And I was managing a team at the time, and it felt like my job was to protect them. So I was taking on that, protector kind of role. Um, and didn't feel free to kind of do my job in the way that I wanted to. So I realized this can't go on any longer. Well, actually, it got to a point where an ambulance was called because I couldn't breathe when I was at work one day, which was very scary. And that's how affected I was by it. Um, and a while after that, I realized, yeah, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be getting home from work and just crying. And I want to be able to support my team to be the best they can be. So I thought, right, I need to do something different. And I didn't know if I wanted to move totally away from tech, because I was in such a bad place. I wasn't really sure exactly what part of it that was making me so miserable. So I thought, right, maybe I need to be a counselor, or maybe a coach, because I wanted to make sure that no one else felt the way I was feeling. Which is often the way, isn't it? We end up coaching and wanting to solve the problem that we've had ourselves. Um, but I didn't really know what coaching was and how it differed from counselling. So I found a free weekend coaching taster that a company was putting on just to try to attract people in to them really. I went on that weekend and I fell in love with coaching. I just thought it was amazing and really powerful. Um, so yeah, that's what made me want to continue learning more really. Um, and so I thought, right, this is for me. I didn't really like the company who had put on this weekend because it was very much a hard sell. They were trying to get me enrolled, and that just puts me off straight away. And so, but I thought, no, I want to do coaching. I just don't want to do it with them. So I had to go away and do lots of research and different coaching schools to figure out which one was right for me. Um, the building my business didn't come till years later, actually. I continued working in the industry, which I'm now really glad of because it meant I could coach my team, I could coach other leaders, and I could do it all while still in the industry, and kind of prove a lot of different concepts and feel for myself how well it worked. So now when I talk to other businesses about, oh, if you do this, then it's really going to improve performance. Well, I know that because I've been there and I've done that. So yeah, it wasn't till quite a number of years later that I actually got the guts, I guess, to go it alone because it's quite a scary thing to do.
Thanks, Bianca, for that. Well, whistle stop tour. Um, it's it's interesting. We often talk about being the coach that we wish we would have had, and years back. And I'm wondering, you know, for that to put you in the position again, if it's okay, as you as a leader, protecting your team, kind of leading up to that ultimate moment where it all came to a standstill that you mentioned when the ambulance was called. I'm wondering what what do you know now that you wish you would have known then?
Um, I think I don't know if it's what I wish I'd have known, but, but I wish I'd have had more confidence um, to stand up. I tried to stand up for the things that I felt um, were wrong that were happening in that business, and it did not go well. So I kind of wish I'd have known that actually I could have stepped away earlier. But I say that and I don't really believe it because I think everything I've been through has led me to where I am today. And not knowing those things led me along the journey of learning. And that's really benefited everything that I am and everything I do today. So I kind of don't wish anything was different, even those really horrendous times. And I had to kind of go through all of that to know what I know now.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. So I guess a better question is how do your experiences shape your coaching now, and how do you, support leaders who are feeling like they're kind of at their wits' end and not knowing which way to turn, but they know that their current approach just isn't working.
Yeah, I offer a lot of patience and understanding and love and uh being non-judgmental, which is, what you should do as a coach anyway. But I I think how I am naturally, but also how I want to show up is just being that calm place that they can come to and know that I'm not going to look down on them for anything that they did in the past or say, you shouldn't be doing this because um, I've been there in the past and I look back on how I was as a manager and I think, wow, you really weren't very good at certain points at the beginning of my journey. Um, so yeah, it's really important just to be a nice calm place for people to come to when things might be quite stressful. And managing people and leading people is really stressful. Everybody's annoyingly really different. It's wonderful, but it's also makes it such a challenge for figuring out how to motivate people. And um, yeah, I think I've got a little bit lost to what the question was now. I just went off on a
Yeah, it was just how you're supporting, leaders. I mean, I remember, from my own experience as being an IT leader, going from being that subject matter expert and that IT professional who was flying along, but then for the first time being a leader and feeling like a fish out of water. Oh my goodness, I've got managers above that I need to please. I've got my own manager, this the board, the directors. Then I've also got a team that I need to be looking after. But how do I get the balance between nurturing them, but also, um, making sure that boundaries are respected and that performance remains high. Uh, it just was like being in the middle of all of these moving pieces and not knowing which one to focus on at any one time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think from the start, for someone who's new moving into it's different working with people who have been established leaders for a long time. There's different challenges there to people who are maybe moving into people management for the first time. And if we look at moving into people management for the first time, I've put a free resource. I created a free resource on my website actually, a new manager launchpad, and that is to help people to decide, is management for them to start with? Because often people just think, well, it's promotion and it's more money. So, of course, that's what I'll do next. Um, and sometimes there isn't a very clear career path that you could take without moving into management. A lot of tech companies are getting better at this and allowing people to progress on the technical side. But anyway, this resource allows people to find out a little bit more about what does it really mean to manage people. And then there's also a template to use, like a framework of questions for the new manager and the business to sit down together and go through and really plan out the role, which is useful for the new manager, but it's also useful for the business to go through things that maybe they didn't realize they haven't thought of up front. And it just makes it really clear and everyone can start on the same page. Um, and covering things like, where can they go for support? Is there someone in the business that they can go to for support, or is there some external support available? Yeah, there's lots of different things. So yeah, it's a tough challenge, but I think the people who make good managers and good leaders are people who really care about doing the best for their team. You have to genuinely care. If you just want a promotion for promotion's sake, then you're going to really struggle. But if you care about people and learning about how to develop people, then that's the best thing. It is way better than any kind of technical skills.
Thanks, Bianca. I'm good if I can lean into that a little bit more with you. I'm just curious on how a challenge I had was how to care about your team, also to care about yourself in the process, and to care about the needs and the goals of the organization. So how to care about these potentially conflicting interests at the same time without losing yourself in the process.
Yeah. Um, it's having boundaries and making sure you're really clear on what everybody's different goals are. And if there are conflicts, then bringing that to the surface and talking that through, um, coaching through that. I'm noticing the business wants this, but you're saying you want this. It seems like there's a misalignment there. What do you think? And then seeing what their point of view is, and and also the reason I love coaching, one of the reasons I love coaching in management leadership so much is it takes the pressure off. I feel it takes the pressure off from thinking that you have to know it all and you have to have all the answers, because you don't. Like in the example I just gave, you can ask the person in front of you, okay, there's this misalignment. What do you think? You hear what they say, and then you can respond and ask them, well, what do you think we can do to resolve this? And, get them to do the thinking, because then they've got the buy-in. Anything they come up with, and you try out, they're bought into it because they came up with that idea. And also, if you coach your team in this way and help to resolve and you resolve conflicts in this way, then you're not having to have all of the answers yourself, and you're benefiting from all of the diverse brains that you have in your team. Because if you're just telling people how to solve things, or, there's this conflict, therefore you must do this, then everything's only ever going to come from your brain. So you're not going to get any innovation. you're not going to get any diversity of thoughts. So yeah, use coaching. It takes the pressure off, and you get much better results from it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. I talked about this with another executive coach recently in an interview, and we were just talking about how, the best teams are actually the teams that can operate independently of the manager. So the manager could be away for a week or 2 weeks and everything continues to go along. And there's sort of like a style of distributed leadership going on. People can make the call, people feel empowered and able to, keep things moving without constantly needing to check in with the manager and get permission from the manager for every change in the model of IT.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the first revelations for me when I started coaching, because I started training with Animas. And then as I was training, I was bringing my new skills I was learning back into um, managing my team, and I was trying things out. Um, and there were people who I had previously thought weren't developing, and maybe they'd reached their level of what they could do. And then when I started coaching, I realized, I was the limiting factor there. Now that I'm asking them the right questions rather than being the rescuer and giving them the answers to this is how you fix that, because, I'm the one with more experience. I've seen this before. So therefore, I know what to do. This is how you go away and fix it. Instead, asking them questions and helping them to get to their own answers. Yeah, they were suddenly developing so much more than ever before. It was just like a total revelation, and I was learning because as they came up with new ideas, often I'd think, "That's brilliant. I hadn't thought of that. Yes, we could try that." So, yeah, I think you have to put your ego to one side, and you can learn so much whilst developing other people as well.
Excellent. I'm curious. So you started Sprout coaching after studying with Animas in 2018 and 2019, and I wondered what are some of the challenges and obstacles that you've encountered in running your own business now, as opposed to working within another large organization.
Yeah. How long have you got? It's definitely been challenging and exciting and rewarding and lots of different things. Um, so first of all, I think the main challenge was what niche, because everyone says, "Oh, you have to niche down, you have to have a niche," and I just didn't really know, and it's really hard to figure that out. And in the end, I just started working, and I was coaching people initially, one-on-one, um, it like B2C, people who were not happy in their jobs, and helping them to figure out what was gonna fulfill them more. And that was great, and I loved that work. Um, but it didn't quite feel like the thing, but I didn't know what the thing was, so I just continued and trusted in the process, and then suddenly at some point, I think it was like a middle of the night light bulb moment, thinking, I know what I need to do. I love working with teams. I love managing teams. I love working out how to get the best out of them. I love coaching, and I love using coaching and managing. So I just need to put all these things together and then help managers and leaders to go through that same journey that I went through, and show them that there's a better and easier way to get better results. And it just felt so right. So that was really hard, figuring out the niche. And then I think there's all of the building a business stuff. So I thought, I love coaching. I'm going to go and be a coach, and I'll coach all the time. Very naively, forgetting that actually, okay, I'm now going to have to be the marketing person, the branding expert, the financial director, every social media expert. Yeah, I was gonna have to take on all these roles that I knew nothing about, and spend a lot of time on that, not just doing, coaching. So, it was hard getting my head around that, and then knowing how to learn all of those different skills as well, knowing how to go about doing that, and I'm still learning, and I will continue learning for years to come, I'm sure. But, yeah, that was a challenge. I can keep going with challenges, but I think we'd be here for hours.
I can relate to so much of it. I always say, coming up with a niche is a regular topic. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves. We feel the need to come up with a niche so quickly, but equally, you can't force it. It takes time. It will come when it comes. And like you say, shout out to just practicing and continuing to coach. And then I've likened coaching before to when you pass your driving test. When it's like when you get your diploma, you think, "Wow, I've got it. I'm ready to go now." And then you get in a car on your own for the first time. You think, "Oh my goodness, I have so much to learn," and the learning begins again, a bit like the first time you think, "So I need to learn about marketing, sales, how to keep financial records, invoicing. I need to build a website. I need to put, engaging and consistent brand, on topic social media posts out there. Which platform am I going to choose?" There's just unlimited sort of questions that you've got, and I guess for me, my experience was just leaning into it and taking one step at a time and thinking, well, today I'll focus on this. And, and finding people to connect with, even if it's not in a paid capacity, that do it really well and, learning from them. Not necessarily copying exactly what they do word for word, but thinking, I really like how they've written that post. I'm going to borrow that. Or I really like the way they're, combining pictures with text on their website. I think I might do something similar. I don't know if any of that resonates with you, Bianca.
It does, yeah, a and also, I would add to that, just, realizing that I didn't have to do it all myself was really useful, and that I didn't have to figure it out all by myself. So there's actually a lot of business support, business growth support out there, and a lot of free stuff. So when you start out and you don't have the funds, there is a lot of free stuff out there. So that was really useful. Just signing up for all of the support that was going, and just learning from everyone everywhere. Um, yeah, that's been really, really beneficial.
Guys, it's a common marketing strategy, isn't it? To give away your best stuff for free. I think Tony Robbins talked about it years ago in his book. Give away your best stuff for free, and then your people will, come back for more. So it's essentially like a freemium product, but there's so much out there. Shout out to all the free content out there, just like your fantastic new manager launchpad course, downloadable from your website, that people can just go out there and consume for no cost, other than the time to go out and do it. Um, you did mention earlier that you went through a sort of a rigorous um, research process to determine which um, training provider that you were going to choose for your diploma. I'm curious as to how Animas came out as the front runner and how you decided to train with Animas for your diploma.
So, I'm very organized. So, I had a spreadsheet, like different coaching schools down one side, all of the pros and cons, and I was very rigorous in deciding what was going to be right and what wasn't. And any with pushy sales tactics put me off straight away. And then after that, it was cost came into it, definitely, but it was what topics are they teaching? And when I had a call with someone from Animas, um, at the time. I had a call with people from various different coaching schools, and when I spoke to the person from Animas, they were warm, friendly, informative, they knew their stuff. They explained really well what it was that I'd be learning and why I'd be learning that, and, just made me feel quite well, really excited about it. And then on the call, there was no hard sell, and then afterwards, there was no hard sell. It's just, "This is what we do. You need to decide, does this sound like a good fit for you?" Um, and the combination of what was being taught, and I could clearly see the expertise they had, and I wasn't being pushed into anything. It was just a winning combination for me, and it just felt right. There was that gut feel as well. It just felt like the right choice for me, and thank God I did make that choice, because it really was really great. It was the right choice for me, and I never ever regretted it. It was a really great experience. it was before COVID, so at the time, it meant traveling from the north of England down to London for weekends. So, there was a lot of cost and a lot of time involved in that, um, but it was everything about it was worth it. The connections I made, what I learned, um, the way it was taught. Yeah, I felt supported through the whole process. It was brilliant.
Thanks, Bianca. It's great to hear. I'm curious, do you still have any of the connections that you made on the course? Do you still maintain them?
Yeah, yeah, I'm still in touch with a few people on social media. A lot of them weren't from, the area where I live now, weren't near Leeds, so it's difficult to kind of meet up, but yeah, I definitely stayed connected with some of those people.
That's great to hear. No, I had a similar experience with choosing Animas, and I think that they have a mantra. It's along the lines of right course, right person, right time, right price, and it's the principle that it needs to be right for you as well as right for Animas. And I believe that they do get the balance right, as everyone I talk to typically raves about how great their cohort was. I know that the numbers of courses they put on and the numbers of people that they have in each course are quite limited and strictly maintained so that the courses are delivered to the highest standard. And I mean, another course we're both on recently, fellow delegates on the leadership in times of crisis course. Um, how did that live up to your expectations? What were you expecting, and how was the your experiences of that course as well?
Um, I'm not sure what I was expecting really, because I hadn't done any formal training. I've been on some free webinars and things like that that Animas have put on because they're always really high quality. Um, yeah, I really don't know what I expected, but I just thought it's about leadership, it's about crisis. This perfectly fits what I'm doing. I know the high standard of what Animas put out, and so I knew I didn't even need to do that much research because I knew it was a fit for what from the area I work in, and I knew it's Animas, and I already have great trust in what they do. So yeah, so I signed up, um, and it was a really interesting mix of it was like world leading experts in the field of leadership and lots of really different approaches, really different perspectives. Some more academic, some more kind of practical. People who have worked in leadership. So um, yeah, it definitely got me thinking. Um, and there was just so much rich content there. I feel like I need to go back and rewatch 5 or 6 times at least. I made lots of notes, but it's gonna take a while for it all to bed in, but I got some definite immediate value from it, but there's a lot more value I know I can go back and get from it again as well.
It was a fabulous course. I think for me, I always say that one of my favorite parts of these courses are the conversations that happen in breakout rooms, consolidation sessions, and also, follow up conversations that happen through LinkedIn. That's been one of my highlights. I wondered if that's been a similar experience for you as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and, yeah, it is always really useful and, um yeah, here because it gives you another layer of understanding and you get to see things from the perspective of the other people on the course, which is again is gonna be either slightly different or they'll say, "Yeah, I found this bit a bit tricky to get my head round, actually," and that's quite useful and helpful, and together you can help each other to get that understanding or listen to other people in your group and they'll help you to kind of see what they got from it. And yeah, it has definitely been really useful.
Definitely, especially when they were. I remember one lady was a delegate on the course, and she was a leader in the NHS during the pandemic. And I mean, talk about leadership in times of crisis, right there. And some of her experiences were fascinating and shocking to listen to. The decisions she'd had to make, and the conditions that they were working in. There was so much uncertainty, so many guesstimates, and yeah, I don't envy her, but it was an honor to just sit back and listen to what she had to say and converse with her about those experiences and what she learnt from it.
Yeah. Yeah, and, another thing I got from it actually was, hearing the experts talking about different methods and different things that you could try, and then thinking, "This this is my style, and this is how I manage, and this is how I lead." Um, it was just really affirming and made me feel really great actually, just thinking, "Well, this is what I talk to people about as well," and I can hear the experts talking about it, and that kind of gave me that, external validation that I'd like to feel I don't need, but we it's always nice to get some and think, "Yeah, actually, yeah, the experts are saying the same thing as me. This is awesome."
Yeah, it's like kind of positive reinforcement. Like, occasionally, a slide would pop up and there'd be a model there, and I think, "I know this model. I recognize it. I'm familiar with it. I've used it." And it'd be described, and you think, "Yeah, I'm using it in the right way." And it is. There's great reassurance there that you're doing the right thing. It's not. I guess it's not to rest on your laurels, but it's also lovely to have something reinforced, or even just a reminder and a refresher on a model or something like IFS or TA that we're taught about, we're familiar with, but maybe it just needs kind of the dust blowing away and brushing off again to bring it front and center to your mind. Yeah. So what's in the pipeline, and what does the future look like for Sprout coaching?
Well, having more impact, having as much impact as possible, and improving as many workplace cultures as I can. Um, so the way I see that happening is taking it on associates in future so that I have more people to deliver the services that I offer, and also making sure that I have enough layered services so that there's no blocker for any business or any manager or leader at any level to get the support that they need. So obviously, I can't, if someone hasn't really got any money, I can't afford, unfortunately, to give them like a tailored one-to-one coaching experience. Um, but I may be able to do something else. I may be able to provide some online resources that they can access. So, just having a look at my offering and how to have the biggest impact. I've also been talking to different organizations about how to work with young people, and how to help them to see that actually they can access the tech industry, and things that they might perceive as blockers don't necessarily need to be. So I'm kind of looking at how to broaden my impact and how to deepen it as well. And I talk about tech because that's the main industry I'm working in. I've worked in tech industry for over 20 years. But actually I've been working also with architects, town planners, recruiters. So um, that's the interesting thing. I'm going back to niches. That was quite a useful thing to know actually for anyone who is listening to this or watching this and thinking, that I don't want to cut things down so much that I'm only working with um, this this narrow group of people. Well, actually, you end up working with more people anyway because other people see what you do, like it, and say, "Well, could you do that for us, or is this just for tech?" And so it ends up that you work with other sectors as well anyway. Just a bit of a tangent, but I thought a useful one for people to know.
That's good to know, and I guess that for me, I felt it takes some of the pressure off. Having a defined niche is great, but then knowing that people can still approach you, for referral recommendations, and they can be outside of your niche, and that's okay too. It's kind of anything goes, especially when you're running your own business. It's within your gift to choose that.
Yeah, yeah. I think having a niche is really useful and being an expert in that niche, like having expertise. For example, me having worked in the tech industry, it's really useful for having conversations with people and doing the marketing and putting out posts because I know the pain points. I've lived and breathed them for many years. But as we know with coaching, you don't have to be an expert in a certain area. You need to be more of an expert in asking the right questions and deep listening and that side of things. So the niche bit I find is more useful from for attracting people to you than for doing the actual work.
Because it's the niche is used for the marketing and the sales, but ultimately the work that happens, in that coaching space is probably quite similar across different sectors, different types of coaching, different people with very different niches and different backgrounds. What ultimately goes on in the coaching space is probably very similar and has a lot of there's a lot of crossover there. But it's yeah.
Yeah, and whereas there might be some benefits in to probe or ask questions in a certain way or about a certain thing because of the area you have expertise in. If you're working in a sector you have no expertise in, that's also beneficial because you come with a totally fresh pair of eyes and the different perspective you have can be really useful as well. So yeah, I think you've got a lot to offer whoever you work with really if you're coaching.
So if someone's been listening, particularly if they're from the tech sector or maybe not from the tech sector, but they're really intrigued by what you've said and they'd love to find out more and get in touch and, download some of your resources as well. And I personally recommend following you on social media, some brilliant content that you put out there that's very applicable to outside of the tech sector as well. Um, where can they find you and how can they get in touch?
So that I'm on LinkedIn. I'm not at the moment anywhere else on social media. I'm just focusing on LinkedIn. So Bianca Spruit. There's not many people with my name, so I'm not too difficult to find. And my website is www.sproutcoaching.co.uk, and you can book a call from either my LinkedIn profile or from the website because I love having really rich conversations with people about the challenges they're having and without the hard sell in very much the way that Animas did for me. So yeah, can book a free call for a chat about challenges and some ideas on how to move forward.
Great. Well, thanks so much for sharing. It's even lovely. I'll share with the team that the Animas sales and marketing approach is appealed to you so much that you're using that a similar approach with your own business. There's a recommendation. But thank you so much for your time today. It's been a fabulous conversation, and I could speak to you all day about challenges and problems that people in the tech industry face. But unfortunately, we only have so much time.
Well, thank you very much, David. I've really enjoyed it.